Feel on your skin the breaths of spring, herald of freedom and the bane of kings. Venti is an absolute delight every time he's on screen, and today, let's see how much you actually know about Venti and his wacky shenanigans that may or may not be legal if you look at the fine print. So welcome to 7 questionable facts about Venti from Genshin Impact. Number 1. Did you know that one of Venti's signature moves was to literally copy Zhongli's signature to the point that it took literal decades before historians realized it was a forgery? After 1,600 years of history, Mondstadt's freedom had sunk to a heretofore unseen low. Barbados, unwilling to become a tyrant, had departed. They had never imagined that those to whom he had gifted freedom would make for themselves a tyrant. The aristocracy ruled Mondstadt with a cruel hand, bringing slaves into this land and ignoring the cries of the oppressed. Thus, the animal freedom returned after these 1,600 years to what was once the City of Freedom. He heard the cry of the slave girl Vanessa, and together with her rushed a rebellion that overthrew the aristocracy. Now, the above is what all know to be the official history of Mondstadt. The story has an interesting little-known twist, however. The one who united the people of Mondstadt in this conflict was indeed the hero Vanessa, but that which caused many of the aristocracy's troops to turn cold was a treachery against the wind. A secret treaty was found, a betrayal of the city. The aristocrats had forsaken the wind and sold everything in Mondstadt to the Geo-Archon of the neighboring land. At the treaty's end was carved an insignia, inimitable by all save the deity so named Rex Lapis. How the soldiers that had once oppressed the slaves shuddered when they saw that they too would become slaves in a foreign land. The news and the conflict spread like wildfire, consuming the aristocracy. It was only many years later that historians would discover that this treaty was fake. As it turned out, Venti had once practiced the art of forgery in order to play pranks on the Geo-Archon, but could never deceive the god of wealth and transactions. Even so, his adeptness would come into play after several hundred years. Did you know that Venti has canonically broken into a prison once? Honestly, I don't even think it's just once. In the manga, Venti talks to an imprisoned Vanessa by stealing the keys from the guards. It was here that he began telling Vanessa about the story of the Lady of Fire, and where he talks about Murata and her children. This is where we also get glimpses of Natlan's nomadic culture too. But we see a deeper side of Venti in this scene, where he decides to test Vanessa's dedication to her people. Vanessa declares that she will fight to the death for her people in a gladiator-style ring, to which Venti states that maybe they should leave first. Venti argues that aristocrats are not truthful and would cheat even in a ball game, but Vanessa says that she cannot, and Venti tries to persuade her to leave, and that he will guarantee freedom for her people. When Vanessa refuses for the 3rd time, saying that freedom must be fought for, not given, Venti is satisfied with her answer, and leaves for himself. We then see in the gladiator battle that Venti reveals himself as the god of Anemo and helps her against Ursa the Drake. Venti the Bard is a famous figure in Mondstadt, but did you know that Venti has actually admitted that his stories aren't completely real? A lot of the nuns and worshippers of Barbados actually consider these stories as blasphemies and fabrications. But when someone confronts him, he doesn't really care and never shows an ounce of remorse. In contrast to the more canonical works of the church, Venti's ballads tend to include bizarre adventures and acts of mischiefs, such as the time that Barbados pinched the Cryo-Archon scepter and replaced it with a Hilly Churls wooden club. But the question is, whenever someone asks him, how could they know that these were fabrications? And he has a point. Even the most devoted sister could not possibly know the details of all of Barbados' deeds from millennia ago. Only Venti knows the truth behind his song lyrics, and it is a truth he hides behind an enigmatic smile. Reason being, yes, Venti's tall tales of Barbados' unorthodox exploits are entirely fabricated. Genshin's archons usually have a moniker if they're a god of another thing besides their ideal. Barbados, being the god of freedom and the god of Anemo, is also the patron deity of music. Venti is actually allergic to cats. In Jean's story quest and other places, he can be heard sneezing horribly when in the presence of them. But the real question about this allergy was he created with it, or did he adopt this allergy when he decided to take the form of the nameless bard? Venti is, after all, an elemental spirit, so I'm sure that allergies, especially humankind's, don't come naturally to him. Do you think that the nameless bard had this allergy, and Venti decided to adopt it when he took on the form? As mentioned before, the god of Anemo isn't afraid to break a few rules here and there. and one of them is pilfering from the Dawn Winery. He's been caught stealing from behind the counter, and even admitted that he's been pilfering from them.
My tummy is rumbling, but I can't get caught pilfering food from the Dawn Winery again. Oh, it's you! Where are you heading? May I join?
Being a bard and all means that Venti's words of praise are usually flowery and maybe hides more than what meets the eye. And while making headcanons is fun and all, Venti has canonically written a love poem that they shared with the traveler.
And if you have a moment now, would you care to hear a new love poem I wrote this year? Allow me to recite it for you. This world has never seen such vibrant color. It bestows upon everyone a brilliant hue, a shade more ethereal than white, yet more radiant still than gold. It eases into your eyes and restores to light a solitary soul. Maybe a bit too somber. Maybe I should write another one on sweet flowers instead.
And moving on from that, we also have this interesting scene from the first Windblume.
So what are Windblooms? Something that the animal Archon Barbados will not define. Flowers of blessings, flowers of respect, flowers of love.
Huh?
Anyway, Venti is a complex and strange character with all sorts of antics that are nearly impossible to read. But nevertheless, he's a wonderful fellow and I'm excited to see more from him, especially since the stakes of Celestia and the gods slowly get higher and higher by the day. Anyway, my name is Aster, thank you for chilling with me. Bye-bye!